Okay, thanks, David. To many people, he wasn't just a politician. He was also a statesman and a friend. Howard Baker Jr. Also became an icon in American history because of the way he could broker compromises between members of Congress with a quiet dignity.
Friends, politicians, and national dignitaries are gathering for the late Tennessee senator's funeral tomorrow in the little East Tennessee town he called home. Baker suffered a stroke last Thursday and passed away from complications related to that stroke in his hometown of Huntsville, Tennessee.
News Channel 9's Latricia Thomas and Josh Rowe are anchoring our coverage of Senator Baker's life and times. They join us now from Cumberland Avenue in Knoxville, near the center of public policy that bears Baker's name on the campus at UT Knoxville. Latricia, Josh?
Kim and Calvin, we are in downtown Knoxville. You can see the Sun Sphere behind us, right behind us, Cumberland Avenue. Right down the street here is the Howard Baker Center. It has been a very sad and somber day. We've talked to friends, we've talked to family, but more than anything, we're hearing stories today. Great stories at that.
That's right. So many stories about Senator Baker's love for politics, for compromise, for his family. And from his family today, we're hearing that Senator Baker not only loved his time in Washington, but he always kept grounded in the place he called home. Senator Howard Baker may have been a political powerhouse in Washington, but at home, Sissy Baker remembers her father as a family man above all else.
Campaigning with Dad was a great experience. And you know, once he was elected to the Senate, my grandfather, Everett Dirksen, was in the Senate. So I used to go up to the Capitol and see what I knew as Dad and Gramps.
He may have led Republicans in the Senate and later served as the White House Chief of Staff to Ronald Reagan. But Sissy Baker says her father's first rule was one that kept him grounded in his hometown of Huntsville, Tennessee.
When we moved to Washington, when Dad was elected to the Senate, he said, "Don't ever forget that Tennessee is your home." And we've never forgotten. And I still consider Tennessee my home. And that is one of the most important pieces of advice my father ever gave me.
Even Senator Baker, who brokered compromises in the Senate and pushed to find the truth during the Watergate hearings, thought he would best be remembered for helping create the Big South Fork National Recreation Area near his hometown, a home where Baker lived out his last days.
My brother and his wife Nancy and I were with him when he passed away at home in Huntsville, what he called the center of the universe. So it was one of the most peaceful deaths I can imagine.
And Sissy Baker telling us today one of the people she saw come visit her father's body as he laid here in state at the Howard Baker Center for Public Policy, the train engineer of the train they used to take out when she was young and they would campaign as her father tried for office. And she said he made such an impact on almost everyone that he met. So many people today just had to come and pay their respects here in Knoxville.
Another interesting part of that story, he wanted to be remembered for the Big South Fork Recreation Area. You think of all the things he did in his political life and all the things that he's known for, and the two big quotes, you know, of his political career. Number one, Mr. Gorbachev, tear down this wall, which is not his line, President Reagan's line, but was a big part of planning that. That, and of course from the Watergate hearings, what did the president know and when did he know it? Both of those are, you know, historical, iconic lines, quotes in political history we'll never forget. But what he wanted to be remembered for is Big South Fork.
That's right, because it was near the place where he lived, the place that he never forgot. You've heard so many people say that when some people go to Washington and are elected, they forget about where they came from.
Right.
Senator Baker obviously never forgetting that and always being so proud to call the small county in Tennessee, Scott County, his hometown.
That's right. We saw so many dignitaries and familiar faces today, not just family members. We saw former Governor Don Sundquist. We'll be hearing from him coming up at 6 o'clock. We saw former Tennessee football coach Johnny Majors. He'll be coming up at 6 o'clock as well. So a lot more coming up, but also more dignitaries tomorrow. We heard from Senator Corker today, said that he will be in Huntsville tomorrow. Also, Congressman Chuck Fleischman will be there as well.
That's right, and we're also hearing today about Baker Baker's other ties to Tennessee. Of course, one of the main reasons his body is here is because he graduated law school here at the University of Tennessee. Also, the Howard Baker Center for Public Policy, something he was so proud of, a nonpartisan entity that could look at subjects and really release the information that he wanted to bridge the gaps between Democrats and Republicans. Also, thinking back to Chattanooga and his ties there, he was a graduate of Macaulay back in the time when it was a military preparatory academy.